Welcome back to Evolve Every Day. The true measure of a person isn't judged by the heights they reach at their peak, but by their resilience when they hit rock bottom. Adversity is the stepping stone for a genius, the baptism for a believer, a priceless treasure for the talented, and a bottomless abyss for the weak. Some of the things I'm about to say might be a tough pill to swallow, and they certainly aren't easy to absorb, so make sure you stick around until the very end to truly grasp this timeless wisdom. There are incredible insights coming up that you won't want to miss. So what is this adversity quotient, or AQ, I'm talking about? It's your ability to face hardship. Let me tell you a story that perfectly illustrates the difference between IQ, EQ, and AQ. My cousin, my uncle's eldest son, was brilliant. From elementary school all the way through high school, he was always at the top of his class. His IQ was off the charts. He was also incredibly charismatic and got along with everyone. Family, friends, you name it. People were just drawn to him. But when he went off to college, everything changed. My aunt and uncle went through a messy divorce, and it completely broke him. He stopped visiting relatives when he came home, and his grades went into a freefall. The university even called my uncle, telling him that his son was constantly skipping class, spending all his days and nights just playing video games. My uncle was furious. He confronted him, demanding to know why he was throwing his education away. My cousin just said, "Your divorce with mom has made me feel so lost. I just don't want to study anymore." Let's break this down. My cousin's academic success from a young age proved he had a high IQ. The fact that he was so well loved and had such great relationships with everyone showed he had a high EQ. But the moment a real family crisis hit, he completely crumbled. This revealed that his adversity quotient, his AQ, was devastatingly low. And this is what we see so often. A person can have a high IQ and a high EQ, but if their AQ is low, the smallest setback can completely shatter them. This explains why there are so many highly educated people in our society whose careers are a mess or who end up completely dependent on their families. It's because their AQ is too low. At the first sign of pressure or the slightest obstacle, they retreat and become lost in despair. When faced with adversity, people generally fall into one of three categories: the quitter, the camper, and the climber. Life is, in essence, the act of climbing a great snow-capped mountain. And on this mountain, you will always find these three types of people. The first type is the quitter. They look up at the towering peak, feel overwhelmed by its height, and decide, "I can't do it." They give up before they even take the first step. The second type is the camper. They start the climb and make it halfway up. They look at the view and think, "This is pretty good." They tell themselves they don't need to climb any higher, so they set up a tent and make a permanent camp. For them, good enough is enough. The third type is the climber. They've already ascended to incredible heights, far beyond where most would stop. But they have no desire to quit, and they have no intention of camping. They are driven by the desire to reach even greater summits, so they choose to keep climbing no matter how difficult the path becomes. You see these three types of people everywhere in society. Some people simply give up on themselves. They say, "I don't have the education," or "I don't have the right background," and resign themselves to their fate. When life throws challenges their way, their immediate reaction is to quit. The campers are those who have achieved a certain level of success. They've made some money, they have a comfortable job, and they start to feel like they've made it. They decide it's time to start enjoying life, so they settle into their comfort zone and stop pushing for more. But the result is always the same. If you're not moving forward, you're falling behind. And then there are the climbers. These are the people who are already shining brightly but refuse to stop. Think of someone like Colonel Sanders. He faced countless rejections before finally starting KFC in his 60s. Or Martha Stewart, who, after a massive public setback, didn't just rebuild her life, she built an even bigger empire. These people are the epitome of climbers. Whether they are facing hardship or enjoying success, they never choose to stand still. They are always moving forward, always pushing upward. So I want you to ask yourself honestly, are you a quitter, a camper, or a climber? The last time I talked about this, a business owner told me something fascinating. He said, "You've hit the nail on the head. In my company meetings, whenever I propose a new plan for reform, about 10% of my team is immediately on board and excited. They're the climbers. A solid 70% just choose to wait and see how things go. They're the campers. And there's always that 20% who will immediately resist and oppose it, the quitters." When you are faced with adversity, you need to think about 4 things. First, let's talk about control. In any situation that unfolds, you have to ask yourself, what part of this is actually in my hands and what part is completely out of my control? Imagine this. You have a career-defining meeting today, and out of nowhere, the sky just opens up into a torrential downpour. You feel that knot in your stomach, right? You start thinking, why today of all days? You get angry, you complain, you let the frustration build. But what's the right way to handle this? You have to pause and analyze. The rain? That's completely outside your control. But grabbing an umbrella, leaving home 30 minutes earlier to beat the traffic, ensuring you don't arrive late and flustered, those are the things you can control. So often, the things that ruin our mood are the very things we can't change, which then paralyzes us from acting on the things we absolutely can. Second, we need to talk about responsibility. When a problem arises, who is ultimately responsible for the outcome? The average person defaults to a victim mindset. The successful person, however, operates from a mindset of ownership. Let's paint a stark picture. You're crossing the street, you have the green light, so you go. Suddenly, a truck blows through the red light and hits you. Whose fault is it? You'd immediately say it's the truck driver's fault. He ran the red light. And you're not wrong. Legally, it is the driver's fault. But here's the harsh truth. The consequences are yours to bear. The person who suffers the greatest loss is the one with the ultimate responsibility. Just because you have the green light, does that mean you shouldn't glance both ways before stepping into the street? When you spend your energy assigning blame, you trap yourself in a cycle of powerlessness because you've given yourself a perfectly logical reason not to act. I see this a lot with women who've been cheated on. They cry and tell everyone, "He hurt me, I did nothing wrong." But who chose that partner in the first place? Why weren't the red flags seen earlier? When you start thinking that way, the sadness begins to transform. The next time you choose a partner, you'll be wiser. And beyond that, his actions are a reflection of the standards you've set. When you know your own immense value, you don't just get cheated on, you disqualify people who aren't worthy of you long before they have the chance. Third is impact. You have to analyze how this event will truly affect you. What is the scale of the damage? Are we talking about $100, a few thousand, a million? Is it bankruptcy, or is it a matter of life and death? So many of us love to catastrophize. We blow things completely out of proportion. Is the situation really as dire as you're making it out to be? I've seen young women go through a breakup and feel like their life is over, that their world has completely crumbled. But in reality, what damage has he caused? There's no financial loss, no threat to your life. The absolute worst of it is the emotional pain. And in 6 months, you'll start to forget him. In another 6 months, you'll have found someone new. In the grand timeline of your life, that heartbreak is a tiny blip. Anytime you face something that feels unbearable, ask yourself this: how many more years do I plan to live? And how long am I willing to carry this weight? When something feels heavy, you have to learn to put it down, and put it down fast. Compared to the entirety of your life, any single hardship is just a speck of dust. Fourth is duration. Ask yourself, how long will the loss from this event truly last? A few months? A few years? Or a lifetime? Just the other day, a friend was telling me how the pandemic crushed his business and how demoralized he felt. I asked him, "With the money you have now, can you make it through this year?" He said, "Yeah, no problem." I told him, "Then what is there to be sad about? This pandemic is a temporary storm. Even if it affects you for the whole year, your business will bounce back next year. What's the point of despairing? This year, focus on building your online presence. That's a win in itself." You see, most of our suffering is self-inflicted. Outside of life or death situations, everything else is just a minor detail. Anyone who leaves you, any pain they cause, is only temporary. Time has a beautiful way of healing all wounds. The very things that bring you to your knees today will one day be a story you tell with a smile. The key to developing this resilience lies in your ability to analyze whether the risk is truly as severe as your fear tells you it is. Almost everything, except for death, is temporary. You have to soberly assess the level of damage and its duration. This will help you see the problem objectively instead of just drowning in the pain. Ask yourself about your circle of control in the situation. What part of this can you own? Focus on what you can do, not on what is being done to you. And finally, you must escape the victim mindset. Take ownership of your role in the problem. This is how successful people think. They don't complain or blame. They look for ways to improve their situation with the tools they have. No matter how daunting the adversity, if you can maintain a clear and positive mindset, you will overcome it. You have to awaken the warrior within, ready to fight and conquer every challenge on your ascent. So, how do we actively build this resilience? First, listen to your reaction to adversity. Imagine you're walking down the street and suddenly some unhinged person runs up and screams in your face, "Your life is over! You're a total failure!" Would you believe a single word they said? Of course not. You just think they were unwell and move on. And yet, every single day, inside your own mind, you are that person screaming those exact same words at yourself, and you believe them. You're tormenting yourself with this constant stream of negativity. So you have to start paying attention. Is there a crazy person screaming inside your own head? The moment you recognize you're facing a tough situation, you have to learn to say to yourself, there you are again, adversity. Awesome. This is another chance to build my resilience. Don't start whining about how useless you are, what a failure you are, or how you always mess things up. For example, let's say you're on your way to an important business trip and you get pulled over by a police officer. It's only then you realize you left your wallet with your license and all your ID at home. Instantly, a voice in your head might scream, "Dang it, I'm such an idiot. How could I forget my wallet?" Then you call your spouse and start a fight. "Why didn't you remind me to grab my wallet?" The argument gets heated, you're both angry, and you end up missing your trip entirely. But what if you chose a different perspective? The moment you realize you forgot your wallet, a new thought pops into your head. There's that adversity again. Great, another opportunity to level up my problem-solving skills. You calmly take out your phone, maybe you find a digital copy of your insurance, or pull up a photo of your license you saved for emergencies, and explain the situation calmly to the officer. Just like that, you've handled the check, and you're back on the road to your business trip right on schedule. Second, isolate negative emotions. Our brains have a built-in defense mechanism that often involves imagining the worst-case scenario. For instance, maybe you have to give a big public speech. The night before, your brain starts flooding you with negative thoughts. What if I forget my lines? What if they don't want to listen to me? And then the anxiety spiral begins. You start to feel worried, irritable, and you can't sleep a wink all night. This is your mind running wild with fear. In that moment, you need to physically interrupt the pattern. You could literally slam your hand on a table and shout, "Stop!" to break the chain of negative thoughts. Or you can distract your mind by shifting your focus to something else entirely. Watch a funny video clip, listen to your favorite song, or just get up and do a few quick exercises on the spot. Third, do what you can do right now. Look at Nick Vujicic. He has no arms and no legs, yet he became a world-renowned motivational speaker. So many people with disabilities might feel that their life is effectively over. But Nick, he started thinking differently. Okay, so what should I do? I don't have arms or legs, but I have a voice. I can speak. I can inspire people who have lost hope to overcome their own challenges. So he started calling schools, hundreds of high schools and elementary schools, offering to give a speech for free. After being rejected hundreds of times, he kept calling. He persisted. Finally, one school said yes. That speech was a massive success. Then another school invited him, and another. His reputation grew and grew until he eventually became an international speaker, invited to give presentations in dozens of countries. Everyone in life encounters a pit. If you fall in and stay there, that's failure. If you manage to climb out, that's growth. Inside every one of us, there's a person who wants to give up, a person who wants to set up camp in the pit, and a person who wants to climb. You have to awaken the climber within you. Next, I'm going to talk about the secret behind how geniuses truly train themselves. You'll want to listen to this very carefully. The first secret, the master skill of absorption. This is about rapidly absorbing the experience, wisdom, knowledge, thinking abilities, and methods of the top masters in any field, and then applying them to your own life to leapfrog ahead of them. For example, an ordinary person learns after they stumble and fall. A master learns from the stumbles of others, quickly turning someone else's talent into their own. For instance, if you're just starting a new business, find 100 successful competitors. Become their customer to experience their products and services firsthand. If you have to, get a job in that industry to truly understand their business model from the inside out. Then, apply what you've learned to your own venture to create success. Success is about diligently copying your best competitors, learning from experienced teachers, and making their finish line your starting point. Then you apply it all and immediately surpass them. Because in the end, your life is a direct result of where you invest your time and your money. The second secret is what I call the art of transformation. You see, it's not enough to just absorb things. You have to know how to transform them. It's a lost art, but one we're bringing back. Let me put it this way. When you eat a steak, do you grow a cow's body? Of course not. You grow a human body. But so many people out there, metaphorically, just eat the steak and grow a cow's body. They copy the surface level action, but they fail to transform the underlying principle. Imagine you're in an exam and the question is, what is 2 plus 2? You don't know, so you peek at your classmate Emily's paper and she's written 2 plus 2 equals 4. You're thrilled and you write down 4. That's copying the surface. It's the fastest way to get an answer, but it's not a lasting strategy. Because when the next question is, what is 4 plus 4? You're lost all over again. So what does it mean to transform the principle? It means after seeing Emily's answer, you go home and you truly study and understand the law of addition behind it. From that day on, you can solve any addition problem thrown your way. Is that clear enough? Everything has a core principle. Understand one and you can unlock 100 others. You transform the input without ever losing sight of the core. Once you understand the fundamentals of cooking, you can master 1,000 different recipes. You meet someone, you become them to understand them. You encounter a challenge, you transform it into a tool for your own growth. When you meet someone less successful than you, digest the reasons for their failure. When you meet an equal, use them as a mirror. When you meet a master, find the most effective path to become them. Don't look down on this person or slander that one. Life is the ultimate examination hall. Every event is a test question, and every single person is your teacher. Believe me, anytime you invest in mastering this art of transformation will pay you back 1,000 times over when you least expect it. Gaining experience is accumulation, but transformation is iteration. It's the cycle of polishing, grinding, and advancing. The process of true digestion moves from simply seeing and reading to thinking, to listening, to debating, and finally to that moment of epiphany when you can write it, do it, master it until it becomes second nature, and finally you can transform it into something new. Learning begins with imitation. First you copy, then you surpass. Progress begins with practice. First you complete the task, then you perfect it. And true achievement begins with repetition. First you learn to move fast, then you learn to optimize. This brings us to the third secret, the law of long-term commitment. The secret to building real, lasting wealth is actually incredibly simple, but most people just don't know it. And among the few who do, most can't bring themselves to do it. That's why the tiny minority who master it become legends. When I was a kid, I bought a martial arts book called Win with a Single Strike. Looking back, I realized so many people are still searching for that one magic trick to win at life. If such a secret truly existed, it could be summed up in 3 words: play the long game. The moment a person shifts their entire mindset to long-term thinking, they've already won. It just might take a few years for the scoreboard to reflect it. So what is the essence of playing the long game? It's the ability to maintain a sustained, burning focus on one thing. And in the process of doing that, you have to give up the life of constant entertainment. You have to give up pointless social events. You have to give up meaningless spending. And through it all, you have to endure the loneliness and the feeling of being misunderstood, all by yourself. It is an incredible act of self-control and deep thinking. People who build lasting success almost always have a capacity for patience that is light years beyond that of those who are struggling. That's why you'll see that even after they've made it, they still work harder than you, and they can endure solitude better than you. It's because that intense, long-term focus has become a deeply ingrained habit. So when you see someone with an extraordinary skill, don't be envious. Just do that same thing for 10 years, for 10,000 repetitions, and you can get there too. The secret to anything is that it gets easier the more you do it. The mindset that keeps people stuck is opportunism. What is opportunism? It's always looking for that one-strike victory, that get-rich-quick scheme. These are the people who are most easily taken advantage of, because the more desperate you are to make money, the more likely you are to lose it. The truth is, all those flashy people you see online, they've all been grinding away in their field for years. But they'll tell you they just used 5 simple methods and you can too, and you believe it. But remember this, any method that makes money fast will lose it just as fast. Because the faster the money comes, the less real skill it contains, which means anyone can do it. And can you imagine how many competitors you'll have? The deeper you build your foundation in one direction, the stronger your abilities become, and the more you create an insurmountable barrier for others. You'll build a powerful moat that no competitor can cross. What does a true master look like? Even if I told you my exact method, you couldn't copy it in a short amount of time. It's like a world-class company. You can tour their headquarters, you can study their model, but you can't replicate their soul. You can't just copy decades of deeply accumulated internal strength. So what should you do? The answer is to learn deeply, to plant your roots deep into the ground. I always tell people this. When you start something new, for the first 2 years, don't even think about profit. If you can simply survive, you've already won. It sounds simple, doesn't it? But sadly, most people don't even have the patience to seriously read a single book from cover to cover. How long does it take to achieve something truly great? 10 years? 20? I'm here to tell you something that might shock you. It only takes 3 years. You heard me right. In just 3 years, you can completely transform your life. A total reinvention. Think about it. Everything in this world is hardest at the beginning, and then it gets easier and easier. But most people quit right when it gets tough. They die in the darkness just before the dawn, missing the brilliant sunrise that was waiting for them. Never overestimate what you can do in 1 year, but never, ever underestimate what you can accomplish in 3. The real question is, who has the endurance to keep performing the same simple actions over and over again? You can't swallow a giant in one bite, but giants are built from countless small bites added up over time. The most overlooked and yet the most terrifying power in this world is the compounding effect of repetition focused on a single point. True, lasting success is built piece by piece. If you want a tree to grow tall, it must first send its roots deep into the earth. It can't just grow upwards from day one. The truly exceptional people, their minds may leap forward, but their actions are grounded and practical because they know there are no real shortcuts. The surest way to reach your destination is to patiently, relentlessly build upon a single point. Did you know that a thin piece of paper folded on itself 42 times would be thick enough to reach the moon? If you could fold it 51 times, its thickness would stretch past the sun. And at 103 folds, it would be thicker than 100 billion light years, larger than the diameter of the known universe. A single drop of water can drill through solid rock, not because of its power, but because of the power of relentless focus on one spot. When a person concentrates all of their time and energy on a single point and persists, they can generate an incredible, piercing force. It's just like how sunlight, when focused by a magnifying glass, can start a fire in seconds, or how a stream of water, when concentrated into a high-pressure jet, can slice through solid steel. The true masters of life, everything they do each day, every person they meet, every word they speak, is either directly related to their present growth or their future reward. Anything else is just a waste of time. Most people go through their entire lives learning the wrong things, and that's why they can never reach the top of the food chain. Here at Evolve Every Day, our content is dedicated to decoding the secrets of human nature, mastering the levers of human psychology, understanding our primal drives, and winning in the high-stakes world of business. We are going where no one else dares to go, revealing the hidden playbook. Only when you gain access to this entire system of strategy, one built on the foundations of human nature, will you truly open your eyes. You will finally grasp the secret art of influence, getting the people around you to help you build, to help you earn, and to carry you to the very top of the food chain. And that brings us to the end of our journey for today. If this message resonated with you, if it sparked something inside of you, then show your support by hitting that like button, subscribing to Evolve Every Day, and sharing this video with someone who needs to hear this truth. And I want to hear from you. What is the one single point you are going to focus your energy on for the next 3 years? Let me know in the comments below.